Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Scrubception. Scrubtopia? Scrubbapalooza. Actually, this is SpaceWeek Live for Sunday, October 4th, 2020. For whatever reason, we've seen an unusual number of launch aborts, aka Scrubs, lately. Let's rewind a bit and take a look at what didn't launch in Scrubtember and Scrubtober so far. After Astrospace's loss of their 3.0 rocket in March, Astra's 3.1 launch was scrubbed 5 times in August, first due to a pesky boat, then due to Kodiak Island, Alaska's uncooperative weather. On September 10th, it finally launched, except there was an issue with their guidance system and a mid-flight shutdown was commanded. So not a scrub, but an honorable mention here. Then SpaceX's Starlink 12 launch was scrubbed on September 17th due to high seas in the recovery area where the drone ship hangs out. On September 18th, because of a hurricane, then it was delayed from September 27th and scrubbed on September 28th at T-minus 30 seconds due to bad weather. On October 1st, it scrubbed at T-minus 18 seconds due to an off-nominal ground sensor reading. Now, Starlink 12 is scheduled for tomorrow, Monday, October 5th at 7:51 a.m. Eastern. We'll see if they can get it off the ground this time. Excuse me. Blue Origin's New Shepard NS-13 launch was scrubbed on September 24th and 25th because of an issue with the electrical supply to the science payloads. They haven't announced a new launch date yet. ULA's beleaguered Delta IV Heavy NROL-44 mission was originally delayed from June, then August 26th. It scrubbed on August 27th due to an issue with pneumatics. Delayed from August 28th, then on August 29th it had its now famous hot fire abort at T-minus 4 seconds, which I won't play for you again. I've already recapped that moment numerous times in previous live streams. Fast forward a few weeks when it scrubbed on September 26th, 27th, and 28th due to an issue with their swing arm retraction system. Then on September 29th, it actually scrubbed twice due to weather, once just after midnight and again just before midnight, almost 24 hours later. Finally, on October 1st, it aborted yet again at T-minus 7 seconds due to a hydraulic leak on the mobile service tower retraction system. That sounds related to the swing arm issue from before, but I don't have the details there, so I can only assume. There's no word on a new launch date, though it could be as soon as this Tuesday or Wednesday if they manage to fix the problem. SpaceX's GPS-3 SVO4 launch got bumped from September 29th because ULA's NROL-44 mission was hogging the range. The National Security Mission had range priority at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, so SpaceX had to get in line and wait their turn. The same weather conditions that delayed, the same weather conditions that delayed NROL-44 would have probably delayed SpaceX anyway. Then on October 2nd, an automatic abort was triggered at T-minus 2 seconds, and they didn't have enough time in their 15-minute launch window to investigate and fix the issue. They haven't announced the new launch date yet for the GPS mission. Finally, there's Northrop Grumman's Antares Cygnus NG-14 Kalpana Chawla cargo mission to the ISS. That's named after the late astronaut from the Columbia disaster. It was delayed back, and please don't draw any parallels there. It was delayed back on August 31st and September 7th, then again on September 29th due to weather. There was no conflict with ULA or SpaceX on the 29th because Antares launches out of Wallops Island, Virginia, which is 720 miles north of Cape Canaveral. Then on October 1st, it scrubbed at T-minus 2 minutes 40 seconds due to an unspecified problem with some ground support equipment. Fortunately, the next day they were able to actually launch. That was actually the only successful launch last week. Let's check it out.
T-minus 15 seconds.
T-minus 10. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do we have engine ignition?
Engine start and liftoff. The SS Kalpana Chawla takes flight, sights set on the International Space Station. Pitch and roll programmer in.
Vehicle systems are nominal. Engines at 100%.
So, so that was the only successful launch last week. Snow Kittens is asking about Soyuz from Plesetsk. I didn't have a Soyuz launch on my calendar. It's quite possible that I missed it because the last couple of weeks have been crazy for me at work because we're in the midst of a security situation. And so the IT team, including myself, has been working in the office, which we've been working from home for weeks, but we've been pulled into the office, and I've been without my work computer, my work laptop, because it was one of the infected machines through no fault of my own. And, long hours, working weekends. I was at work all day yesterday, so it's been stressful, and my brain has been fried. So if I missed a launch, sorry. But, yes, so Antares got off the ground. Also, this past week, actually last night, Mars made an appearance near the moon, near the almost full moon last night. The full moon was on the 1st, and then I took this picture of the Mars-Moon conjunction on the 3rd, so last night. You probably can't see it too well, but here, let me zoom in a little bit, if I can find the drag handle. So you can't see it too well, but that's Mars. It's colored like Mars, a planet full of rust. And here is La Luna. Yeah, so here, let me pause this other guy. I hear him in the background. So this was taken with just my DSLR camera and a 600 millimeter camera lens. I don't have a telescope. I should probably get one because I'd like to get some closer views of the moon, especially during a full moon. or close to a full moon, the surface is so evenly illuminated that it's difficult to distinguish very many features. Like you don't see very much terrain highlighting, but oh, good, my mic's on. That would be embarrassing. I've done that before, just talk and not realize my mic was off. But I really need my 4K monitor back so that I can have like different things in different corners of the monitor, and so they can all be displayed at once. My monitor had a small glitch where it would power off briefly, maybe a few times a day. It would just kind of turn off and then turn back on. It was a minor inconvenience, but I arranged to return it to the manufacturer for repair, ViewSonic, and FedEx broke it en route. They cracked the screen. And I've been struggling for the last more than a month now to get FedEx to reimburse me for the monitor, because the manufacturer won't fix it because it wasn't a manufacturer's defect. It was broken in shipment. And FedEx doesn't want to pay up because they say there isn't sufficient evidence that it was adequately packed, because the pictures that were provided by ViewSonic didn't show enough bubble wrap. Well, they only showed a small portion of the bubble wrap that I sent it in. So anyway, so I now am back to, for the last month I've been using my old 1080p monitor, and so I no longer have a 4K monitor, and I am out more than $900, because it's the price of the professional monitor plus the box plus the bubble wrap plus the shipping cost. And I am rather miffed at FedEx. So, so there you go. That's my life story. My monitor's life story. So, let's move ahead to this week. We only have one launch and one ISS rendezvous, both on Monday morning, early Monday morning. So on Monday, October 5th, starting at 3:45 Eastern, 7:45 GMT, the Cygnus NG-14 cargo craft that I mentioned a few minutes ago will arrive at the International Space Station. The capture of Cygnus with the Space Station Robotic Arm Canadarm2 is scheduled for 5:20 Eastern, 9:20 GMT, and they attach it to the ISS, called installation, starting at 7:30 Eastern, 11:30 GMT. Then it looks like we're going to have going to have dueling live streams again, just like we did with Antares and SpaceX that ended up scrubbing, because SpaceX is scheduled once again to attempt a launch of Starlink 12 at 7:51 a.m. Eastern, 11:51 GMT. Fun times. So that's actually it for this week. Let me see. Go ahead and ask your questions in the chat. Let me switch over to my big view so you can see that magnificent mushroom cloud in the background. That looks like wait a minute. That is a clown. That's not... All right, fine. So that's just a web find. It's the highest quality mushroom cloud picture I could find, and I think it is, in fact, a clown. So go figure. People have fun with Photoshop. So when you ask your question, please make sure to tag my name, Rawspace, so that I am sure to see it. And, all right. Okay, Atarusho. Am I pronouncing it correctly this time? Atarusho says there wasn't a stream, but Soyuz launched on the 27th or 28th. So congratulations to Roscosmos. Let's see. Okay, Atarusho is also saying in regards to SpaceX SpaceX Starship, which is chugging right along down in Boca Chica. SN8, which is their new prototype with wings, the foldable wing fin things on the side, will go up 15 kilometers free fall restart the Raptor engines, perform a belly flop maneuver, and land or crater. That is going to be very exciting to see. I hope that SpaceX provides a live stream of it. If nothing else, you'll be able to watch it on the usual 24/7 live Boca Chica providers, such as Lab Padre and whoever else does that. And I may have a live stream, which would have to be restreamed from Lab Padre with permission. But hopefully SpaceX has a stream, because that's going to be amazing to see. Chair Happy asks, Raw Space, how do they produce liquid oxygen in such large quantities? And if they scrub, do they lose it? No, they don't lose the fuel or the oxidizer during a scrub. What they do, and by the way, thank you, Daniel Sauter, for that contribution. Very nice of you. So when they scrub, well, if they scrub after fueling the rocket, basically you don't really call it a scrub unless the rocket is fueled. If the rocket hasn't been fueled yet, and I'm not sure what the official definition of scrub versus delay versus abort is, but generally speaking, if the rocket has been fueled and they cancel, it's going to be a scrub. If they, if the rocket hasn't been fueled yet, then it's usually called a delay. But they're all sort of refer to the same thing, and that is a postponement of the launch. But if they do scrub and the rocket is fueled, then they just safe the rocket, meaning they go through the procedure to to disarm the ignition system and to lock everything down so that the rocket is in a safe configuration, and then they defuel it. So they suck all the fuel back out, all the oxygen, all the RP1 or hydrogen or whatever it uses, methane. And, and so they don't lose the fuel. As for how they produce liquid oxygen in such large quantities, I'm not familiar with the specific, chemistry involved, the specific process used to produce the, many, many tons of propellants and oxidizers that are used in rocket launches. But I mean, water consists of 2 parts oxygen. So water consists of 1 part oxygen. So I know that on the space station, so H2O, two hydrogen, one oxygen. On the space station, much of their oxygen supply actually comes up to the space station in the form of liquid water. And they use some electrolysis process to separate the hydrogen from the hydrogen atoms from the oxygen atoms, splitting apart the water molecule. And I think they just vent the hydrogen. I don't think they keep it. But the oxygen, of course, they use to breathe. And that may be similar to how they produce industrial quantities of liquid oxygen. I'm not sure. It's an interesting question, though. I'd like to look into that sometime. Mark Mondelas asks, will SpaceX launch their Falcon 9 without abort? That is the question, is it not? And only time will tell. We won't know until it actually happens or doesn't happen. So tomorrow morning, a very bleary-eyed Raw Space will fire up the SpaceX launch stream, because if you recall, the Cygnus rendezvous stream starts at 3 in the morning for me, 3:45 in the morning, which is the worst possible time ever. But I'm not gonna stay awake for that. I'm just gonna let it run, and copyright claims on the music that will inevitably play in between the segments can be damned. So Jimbo Thunderhawk, thanks for the beers. Daniel Sauter asks, what experiment on Perseverance is the most intriguing to you? So I'm a little rusty on the the science payload of the Perseverance Mars rover. That's another yet another thing I need to look into. Really, what I should do is I should compile these questions that I don't have immediate answers to, and then address them in the next week's Space Week. It's just that the last couple of weeks have been killing me because of the work situation. So I've been, not had a lot of spare time for, research and stuff like that. But let's see, Perseverance. So if I recall, okay, so they have, I don't remember the name of Moxie. Yeah, Moxie, right. He put it right there in the chat. I thought of it, and then I saw the word in the chat. Moxie is a device on the Perseverance rover that will, unless I'm getting this wrong, process the Martian atmosphere into, oxygen? I mean, we don't care about because the Martian atmosphere is very thin, but it's almost all carbon dioxide. So you've got carbon, you've got oxygen. And of those two things, we really don't need carbon. Carbon is not useful for launching rockets, but oxygen sure is. So it will be interesting to see the results of that experiment. And, of course, the Ingenuity drone, the helicopter, will be amazing to see if it actually works. And, our atmosphere is nice and thick. At sea level, we've got, 14.7 psi or something of atmospheric pressure. On Mars, you have, just a few percent of that, 4% of that. Very thin atmosphere. And it'll be interesting to see if the drone can successfully lift off and navigate around in such a thin, rarefied atmosphere, which I actually haven't seen any tests of it. There may be some videos out there, but I know they have tested this in low pressure, like a vacuum chamber with most of the air evacuated to simulate Mars atmospheric pressure. They can't simulate Mars gravity, but they can simulate Mars atmospheric pressure. So if it can lift off in Earth gravity, then it should be able to have. It shouldn't have any problem lifting off in Mars gravity, which is only, 3/5 or something. It's something like that. Maria Kutajan is asking, please inform me if SN8 flaps offer possibilities to perform different maneuvers than we have seen before in prototype tests. Yes, they absolutely do. Microsound, true to form, true to his expertise and his name as a sound engineer, is excited about the microphones on the Perseverance rover. We should actually be able to hear the descent of Perseverance through the Martian atmosphere, which will be very cool. But back to Maria's question, SN8 Starship. The flaps, well, I would call them fins or mini wings or wings. But if you look at I don't have it queued up, but if you look at the pictures or videos like from Lab Padre of the SN8 prototype, the wings are clearly designed to fold out. They're folded up perpendicular to the body of the craft, and then they fold out like that. And they look pretty sizable. They're not just small fins. They're pretty large. I shouldn't really call them wings, because wings implies that they're intended to provide aerodynamic lift like an airplane wing, and that's not their function. But what they'll do is they will allow the SN8 Starship prototype to perform the belly flop maneuver, where instead of here, let me bring this up so I can actually see. Okay, so the Starhopper and the other SN Starship prototypes went straight up, hovered over, maybe tilted to the side a little bit, hovered over, and dropped down onto the landing pad. SN8 is going to be able to do a belly flop maneuver where it boosts up to 15 or 20 kilometers, and then pitches over to simulate re-entry into Earth's atmosphere, which is going to be at a very steep angle, like you can imagine the shuttle coming in, the space shuttle coming into the atmosphere at sort of a belly flop angle, so that the majority, so that the bottom of the space shuttle or the bottom of SN8 is taking the brunt of the heat from interaction with the atmosphere. Now, SN8 is not going to be re-entering the atmosphere. It's going to be in the atmosphere during the whole test. But but it's still going to be able to demonstrate the maneuver. And the main purpose of the wings is to provide a larger surface area to slow the craft down. Because a cylinder is, it's not terribly aerodynamic when it's like, sideways. But when you're coming into the atmosphere, you want to be as brick-like as possible. You want a big surface area to slow the craft down on re-entry, because you're coming in at 18,000 miles per hour or more, and you need to slow down to a few hundred miles per hour or whatever in order to reorient yourself vertically in the case of Starship and propulsively land, which is sort of SpaceX's bread and butter, is those vertical propulsive landings. Daniel Sutter is asking, where or what profession do I work? I am not a rocket scientist. I am not even a physical scientist. I'm a software developer and a IT guy. So that is my professional expertise, but I've always been interested in space and rocketry and science and all that stuff. So I actually would love to go back to school just for expanding my own knowledge in the fields of astrophysics, cosmology, rocketry, whatever. But some of those fields are, I think, perhaps beyond my mental capacity to process the actual math of it, and so that might be a non-starter. But I'm good at being fascinated by this stuff, but my math skills are maybe mediocre, maybe a little bit above average. But our moderator, Appable, he blows my mind with some of the math that he does for his aeronautical engineering. But let's see. Space Ace, excuse me. It's my allergies there. Wreaking havoc. Havoc, I say. SpaceX mentions my previous military experience. That was, I used to be in the Air Force, but that was a long time ago. More than 2 decades ago, so it counts, but it's in the deep past. So, Xenoraptor is asking if the Tesla stream ended. I sure hope not. Shouldn't have. I see 7 people are watching right now. So if I suspect what's going on is you're not seeing it like advertised, or you're not seeing it being recommended by YouTube, and that's been the case for a long time. I don't know why, but for some reason the YouTube algorithm does not like this channel's SpaceX Starman 24/7 live stream. The visuals remain compelling. The music is relaxing and it's high quality. The chat is well moderated. It's a very friendly environment, and we don't tolerate trolls. However, for some reason, SpaceX, for some reason, YouTube simply doesn't show the video to anyone. So there's not usually very many people in there. I don't know why. I've tried playing with the title, tried playing with the keywords. Doesn't matter. YouTube just, like sometimes even my channel regulars and members, sometimes I can't even find it. Like I go to my own page and it doesn't even show up. And I'm like, really, YouTube? All right. So even if you don't see it, you should go to my page and come hang out in Starman sometime, because there's usually somebody around there that will chat, and it's a good hangout. So that will wrap it up for this week. I have to get going because I have a guest here and I need to go hang out with them. But thank you so much for coming, everyone, on this Scrubtober the 4th. Hopefully SpaceX will get off the ground tomorrow, and I'm sure that Cygnus will have no problem up at the ISS. So until then, take care, keep it raw, and I will catch you next week.